Welcome, everyone. I'm Kevin Theos. I'm the president of the USPTA Southern Division, and I am delighted to have our Revenue Streams 6 webinar with 4 outstanding guests. Our topic today is where we are with COVID-19 at their respective facilities and what they're looking forward to, and hopefully getting past this sooner rather than later. MJ Garnett is he's the tennis director at Windike Country Club. He's been there 23 years. They have over 1,200 families, and he's also the tennis director for over 20 years for the town of Collierville in Tennessee. And for the last 5 years, has been the head coach of the men's and women's teams at Christian Brothers University. MJ, welcome.
Thank you.
Paul Bartholomai is a USPTA and PTR certified pro, and he's the tennis director at Peachtree Station Swim and Tennis Club since 2002, former USPTA Georgia chapter president, and former member of the board of directors for the GPTA. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
Rob Carver is a USPTA elite pro and an independent pro in Atlanta. He's on the Wilson Advisory staff member and creator of the Wilson Challenge in 2015, and was voted best Atlanta tennis instructor, self-pro, in the year 2016. Rob, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you to the fellow panel members and the USPTA Southern for putting this on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Beth Clay, for the last 16 years, has been the director of rackets at Cherokee Town and Country Club, which is a top 5 platinum club in America. She's a USPTA elite pro, PPTA P1 professional, and part of the Wilson Advisory staff. She's been voted Director of the Year, Head Pro of the Year, and she's won Tournaments of the Year as well. Beth, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing this, and hello to everybody. I hope you're doing well.
Fantastic. So Beth, we'll start with you. What's the current status of your facility?
We just started opening on Tuesday. And it is very restricted, but it has been very successful so far. We have gone through numerous reiterations of plans to open. We call it phasing. So we have restricted court times and alternation of times, and we have a number of safety guards in place for check-in and who can come play. So right now it's family-only play. Family only certain times of the day, and then we may progress to singles play with certain conditions, lessons, but right now that's what we've started with, and it's gone very, very well.
Okay, and now is there instruction going on or no?
Is there construction?
Instruction, so are there any privates? Or?
No, that is one of the phases that we've generated to the board, and we're right now in phase 2, if you will. Phase 1 being shut down. Phase 2 is what we're in right now, family only play. Phase 3 that we're offering would be to expand to singles play, where each player has their own balls, a Wilson can pinball, and they only touch their balls, and then also private lessons or family group lessons, but we have not started with that yet.
Okay. Rob, what's going on at your facility?
Well, I'm independent, and if you know the Atlanta landscape, swim and tennis subdivisions are everywhere. So about 50% of the swim and tennis subdivisions have closed, and a good bit of them are still open, and I see people playing. I have to first preface this that my wife is a private caregiver. She works in an assisted living facility, and her main patient is a 93-year-old man. And when this first started, I talked to 3 clients that are doctors, and I wanted to know if I was going to be on the tennis court, how that might impact her. So I had to be very careful with this. And the 3 doctors I coach and 1 biomedical, some expert at Georgia Tech, they have told me that tennis balls are fine, that I'd be okay if I was teaching. So I have done some instruction as this has been going on with small groups of 2 or 3, and I had one group of 4, but no one's violating the 6-foot rule, and people are aware of it. People are bringing their hand sanitizers on the court, but it's mainly personal choice. And the people that have been out in the court have thanked me for still teaching because it's such a great outlet for them, but we don't have any big groups or anything that going on just yet.
Okay. Let's see, Paul, what's happening at Peachtree Station?
Well, Peachtree Station is closed, has been closed for 2 weeks. And right now it's planned to be closed until the end of April and then see what happens. So no teaching until then.
Okay. And then MJ.
Well, the university's been on lockdown since the first week of March. So under their influence, I shut down the tennis department here at the country club before the club did. So at the club, we've gone from a period of soft closed where we closed all the buildings and we only did private lessons, and members were permitted to use the courts. They're permitted to use the golf course. They just didn't have any access to buildings or to pay for anything. Well, we went from that 2 weeks ago to a hard close. So for 2 weeks now, there's been nobody on site, but we're starting again with a soft close, which is no programming, no buildings, but there are golfers coming onto property now, and we'll start with the courts being open for tennis play. We'll start with that tomorrow. And at the parks, town of Collierville, they've never shut down. So we have no programming going on there, but the pros are permitted to teach some private lessons. So they've been going to our least trafficked facility in the town to keep a lower profile, but to still get some work in.
Now, have they removed any nets so that it's like every other court, or can you just play on all the courts if you wanted to?
So here at the club, I took down the nets on the courts that are roadside that gain the most attention, but our courts that are back into the property, I've not removed those nets. So people can, if they can get on property, they can play. The city courts, they're full every time I go by because there's not very many places for people to play right now.
Okay. All right, Rob, what is your financial situation? Now, I mean, are you, how has this affected you, or how are you handling it?
Well, it's a hit, no doubt, no pun intended. A lot of the Atlanta situation is people have paid for the out this season, and I always build in the rainouts in February. So we start early, and several teams had paid for some lessons. So, I'll feel that down the road because you're obviously losing lessons. A lot of this is a lot like having rainouts. So, I will be making up a lot of these lessons. It's just like a really rainy spring. So I'm trying to put a positive spin on it that way.
Sure. Yeah, I guess you have to handle it like that. Paul, I mean, how are your assistant pros faring with this?
Well, I have one assistant pro, and unfortunately, we are not doing any teaching. So it's been pretty hard for us, and hoping that as soon as this ends, we can get back on the court and continue teaching. And like Rob said, with the team coaching and all that, they're all pay. And yes, we're going to do it as rained out. And as soon as we can, we're back in and hope for good weather. So that's
okay. Absolutely. Yeah. The weather actually has been nice. Unfortunately, haven't been able to be out there. It's been perfect weather. Yeah. MJ, what about your assistant pros?
Well, the city pros, like I mentioned, they still have the opportunity to work. Our head pro here at the club, he's been able to take his business to a neighboring club that has remained open throughout all of this. So the Memphis area is really very fluid. You can drive 5 minutes in most directions and get a slightly different policy. So he's still been able to work. We have a pro that's out of country still, and I don't know when we'll get him back in. But of course, everybody, you say they can work, they may do 25, 30% of of their private revenue, that they were doing, but it's something.
Okay. Well, that is something. That's good. Beth, what about you and your pros?
So right now, our situation at the club is certain staff are on property, are salaried, and a couple different hourly people. Our pros, other than myself and Roland, are not allowed to come in. They are hourly and commission, and they are currently being paid 2/3 their pay till the end of April. And then it'll be reassessed after that. And so they're getting 2/3 of their normal pay plus commission pay. But again, after April 30th, that'll be reviewed due to the unemployment and stimulus package.
And how are you communicating with your members at this point?
So we, each department head will draft a plan for their respective departments concerning what their phases are, what their concerns are, different communication ideas, and then they submit it to their chair. The chair might make a couple edits, and then that is submitted to the president, and then the president will send out a communication to the entire membership. Once he sends it out to the entire membership, then each department head will kind of send it out to their core group of people. So like I had a big communication that went out Saturday night because the president sent out that we were opening the tennis courts with restricted play conditions.
Okay, so if I'm a member at Cherokee Town and Country Club, how often would I hear from the club?
Right now, I would say it's probably about every weekend. They're not bombarding them with information. It's really, we've had different things occur, and I know everybody has. The initial shutdown, then about probably 2 weeks later was just, what was going to happen at this point, where we were, and then they started opening up golf, walk and carry, and what the restrictions were golf. And then a week later, they had the tennis courts open with restricted play. So we also had curbside pickup. So that was another communication. So they really want to make sure they have something worthwhile to communicate, so they're not over communicating to the membership. So that's why it really is from the top, from the president, as far as going out, and then they'll allow a department head to send something out. They don't want them to be bombarded with different communications because there's so much going on right now.
That's good. You have got a strategy, and it sounds very organized. That sounds like a good way to go. Rob, how are you communicating with your players, and how frequently?
Well, I base it on what day of the week it is. I've got several teams per day. And so I'll send them a text. Hey, missed you guys. Hope you guys are doing well, and just touching base. And I've talked to several groups and teams. I've told the teams, listen, as much as we're all down in the dumps about not having a spring season, I said, you got to look at it like you have a personal injury, that you got this temporary injury that you can't play in the spring. Or let's say we had a tornado and it messed up our courts. We're going to look forward to the next season. This is a temporary blip. It's kind of like the business that says we're going to survive this thing, or we're going to be better because of it. And I've encouraged my clients to become more physically fit, find ways to exercise and, do different things that way, even if they can't get on the tennis court or not willing to get on the tennis court. That's their choice. But trying to keep people positive, because it's real easy to become the fellowship of the miserable, getting sucked into the news every night. And, with the better weather, I see more and more people biking and walking and being more active that way. So you just got to tell them, hey, this is a temporary thing, and, we got good things coming down the road.
Yeah, no, that's good to keep it positive, and keep them thinking about tennis. Paul, how are you handling communications with your players?
Well, with text, with emails, and I started doing some YouTube videos and put them on Facebook. And every week I will send a team coaching for the week from home, where I put a video from YouTube and some points to look into it, some at-home fitness drills to do, and some maybe hitting against, the wall drills, some things that they can do with their game. And then with my private lessons, I also once a week send them, if we weren't working with volleys, I look some good articles or videos about volleys, and again try to point out the things that we've been working and what to look for, posting some things of what I've been doing, so just kind of they can make some fun of me there, and they enjoy that. And but every day I'm texting, emailing, and different groups, and seems to be positive. Also, what I've been doing is for the last 3 weeks, and I would like to see who can join me on that, is on every Friday at 5 p.m., I call it Play Tennis Petrie Station, Play Tennis Petrie Corners where I live. And just get out to the front yard and do some tennis activity, get the family out. And then send me the video, post it on the Facebook page or just something, pictures, and see if we can get everybody out, get everybody active. And so that we have had some success. Some people send emails or pictures and videos. It's been fun. And so that's basically what I've been doing, trying to make sure that everybody hears from me every week.
Hey, can I say something real quick? Paul, I love that idea of having people do that Friday at 5 to get out and make a video. We've had something called Cherokee Connect, where each department has made their own little videos or photographs or articles, whatever, and are posting that on our website. And then as we opened, we filmed people doing little skill drills themselves, and so that we could post the actual members doing it. But I love the idea of asking people to do a certain time and day and video themselves to post those too. Idea.
I mean, it's been fun. Everybody liked the idea, and I'm curious to see that how many got out there and did it. And I know the first week we had quite a few. They got back to me. Second week, less, and tomorrow will be our third Friday. But we'll keep trying. Sometimes it gets a little discouraging, not knowing if they're opening the emails, if they are. But I think on control the controllables and see what we can do to keep everybody active, involved, and they still remember Coach Paul when we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is the sense, Paul and Beth, as far as the types of content that is getting, and I know it's early, but the types of content that's getting the most attention, like telling someone, here's an exercise that you can do from home that will be beneficial to your game. Here's a drill, something, I don't know, hitting volleys against the wall. I mean, what sorts of things really seem, if anything, stands out as to being good attention getters?
Well, what we did was we've been trying to do videos that would be easy for them to do, say in their driveway or their yard, just little skill drills that they could do with their kids, because of course that's the biggest request we're getting, is things to do with their kids. So it might be as simple as bounce and catch, move and bounce and catch, toss, bounce, catch, quick volleys with a Nerf ball, and make them into just 40-second skill drills. So just little things they can do at home like that, touch drills. That seems to be really what we're receiving as far as feedback from the membership. They just want some things they can do with their kids at home.
Okay, yes.
So,
sorry.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
No, I was going to say same here, and I, what I'm doing too is I'm trying to put some fitness challenges that I've been doing. So I post them there. I've been posting like crazy, and they like that, and they said that they help them. If I can do it, they feel they can do it. So I keep doing that, and I try to make sure I get every age group all the time. So.
Okay, good. MJ, how are you communicating with your members, players?
My most communication a few times each week is via WhatsApp with our college players, because some are locked down here and couldn't get out of country, and some are in their countries. With regards to the club, so far most of our communication has been an update on the club status. As we see how successfully we begin to open this weekend, if the authorities permit us to continue to be softly open, then we'll begin to send out communications and look to begin programming in a way that's safe as soon as we can.
Okay, that makes sense. Paul, what are your plans for your summer camps, if any? What are you thinking at this point?
Well, I'm hoping that we'll be back by June 1st. And that's when we're starting all our summer camps. And the plan is to go full force with what we had scheduled, what we have been doing the last few years, which has been successful. So we plan to continue. I think before everything begins, we're going to do probably a bunch of get back in the game, and free lessons and free classes for juniors to get back into the game. But as far as summer camps, we're hoping to go as in the past.
Okay. Well, there's still time if this, takes a turn for the positive, for sure. NJ, what about you in summer camps?
At present, today, I expect summer to begin in mid-May. They canceled school for the rest of the year. They'll do distance learning. So I don't mean to overshoot. It all has to be done in a way that is safe. But I think that people want product right now. So if we can do it in a way that's safe, I want to start before June. And I think that we have an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, we hope so, for sure. Beth, what about you?
I think we're looking at it from both sides. We hope that we'll have the summer camps starting in June, hopefully maybe even earlier. However, a couple of factors. One, not knowing what exactly safety guidelines will be, and two, if they'll have any kind of virtual learning that they have to do, because I know a lot of our kids do 9 to 1 or 9 to 2 right now. So we're also making plans for that too, that there might be more afternoon, early evening, or different kind of rally programs, and trying to come up with as many alternative plans as we can, since we really are in the unknown right now.
Yeah, it sounds like you're planning for some different contingencies. That's good. Rob?
I'm right along with MJ, and I've had a lot of parents reach out to me because these kids are getting their schoolwork, including mine, done by noon every day. So, it's full speed ahead, and school gets out here in Atlanta around the 20th of May. So, I'll be like Paul and MJ, that by June everything's going to be in cranked up just like last summer.
Okay, and actually sort of piggybacking on that, so what are your plans for your group offerings, like any kind of cardio tennis or drop-in programs, basically with large groups? Are you thinking any alternative practices or approaches, or just, really try to pick up where we left off before all of this?
Well, I think this whole thing is it's a great thing for us, because just like a rainy season, when you're trying to pump up your revenue, how can I do this? How can I do that? When you get creative and ask the right questions, you can come up with some great answers. And it might not always be a long program, a 9-week program. I've done 4-week, what I call Ladies Academy, or, men's winter workouts for, 3 to 4 weeks. And anytime you do something different than a normal program, and it's really in the marketing, that if you can sell it, like, I'll send it out and I'll say, listen, I'm only sending this to select people that I know that could do this from a fitness standpoint. I want to see who wants to up their fitness level. That's for Ladies Academy. So, and you can send it out to everybody if you want, but then you find out who's really interested in improving their fitness. So that's one way. And to me, it's like these mini boot camp things that people do on the fitness side, that we could have mini round robins. I've looked at doing that, just like a round robin for 4 hours or 2 hours, and, different things like that. So that's where, the cardio tennis, it might not be a 9-week thing. It might be just a 2-week thing, or, cardio with just 4, or 6. So you can't do everything that you would do with big groups, but you can still implement it and still give people a lot of fun at the same time.
Okay, and now I imagine you would also have some adjustments as far as, say wipes and that kind of thing in terms of just the safety end of it with a larger group, maybe a little different than what we've had in the past.
Yeah, the hand sanitizer right there in the court valet has been some people have brought their own. They keep it in their bags, and just having it right there. Which anytime I run around robbing or anything, when I fed people, I always have those on the side where the food is. And a couple of people say, "Hey, great idea." To me, that was like, don't you want to wash your hands to begin with? So.
Right, absolutely. Paul, what about you as far as larger groups, cardio, tennis, that kind of thing? Any thoughts of doing things differently or maybe pick up where you left off?
Well, we hope we can pick up where we left off. Before we have to close, our cardio class was big, way too big, scary big because of, social distancing. But when we get back, we're probably going to start with small, I can see a lot of 3 and the pro, 4 and the pro groups, and even coaching that way until we all feel a little more at ease being, groups of 10, 12, like in the past. But I think it's going to be one step at a time and see how that goes. But for sure, private lessons and groups of 3, groups of 4, and see how that goes.
Okay. NJ, what about your larger groups, cardio, that kind of thing?
Well, I'm ready to push it up towards 8 students. I think that, we're tennis professionals. We are inherently skilled at how to move people around and keep them distanced from one another. And a tennis court is huge. So we can have 4 people on each side of the court, 2 in play, 2 out of play. I think the biggest issue for me is how do we creatively move them in and out of play and have them adhere to the movement patterns that we establish for safety. But I think that they're going to want to adhere to those patterns. So I think that the idea of 3 and 4, yes, that's obviously safer, but I think that it's built into our DNA to be able to figure out how to do more safely. So I think that's the direction we'll go.
Okay. Yeah, that there's certainly a lot of space.
Kevin, I would add that for us, I think the biggest issue with regards to the drop-in or the one-time class is, at least for a temporary time, we're going to require people to sign up online so that we don't have an issue of overcrowding and turning people away. We may not keep that always, but I think in the immediate time, everybody will get on board with the need to pre-sign that morning so that we can plan better.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're not overwhelmed with people excited to be out there, and then you've got too many to manage. So that sounds smart. Now, Beth, what about you with cardio or other large groups?
Well, I mean, my hope is that we're all back to normal. However, I think reality is we may have a new norm, at least for the next 6 months, which will be conditional on size. And I think that lessons will be monitored by the number of people on a court. We're looking at, obviously you can have cardio, but I think you will have to consider the numbers. We're looking at also really emphasizing different singles leagues, singles ladders, a number of in-house leagues, things like that, and really emphasizing different specialty clinics to ramp up the private, semi-private, 3 and me's, 4 and pro, things like that, because again, I think the big group lessons, you're still going to have some people a little bit nervous about doing those things for at least the next couple months, if not the next several months. Even with our opening, we've had people come in and say, I really appreciate, and honestly, I would almost say we're overkill right now in our opening as far as safety guidelines, but we've had people coming in and saying, I was really nervous about coming in with my family, and I appreciate all the safety protocols you have in place. But I think that's going to be just the new norm for some time. I hope.
Okay. Yeah, no, that seems reasonable. And how, Beth, how are you handling, or how is your club handling your dues for your members right now? Are there any changes or no?
Currently, it's the same. Now, our annual meeting has been pushed a little bit just because, again, they can't have it, because it's a big group. But right now, it's the same as it was, and they may make some different decisions going forward, but it is what it was.
Okay, and then Paul, what about dues, membership dues with you?
Usually the dues are due on April 1st, and we extended that to May 1st. And we're constantly or emailing the members how important it is that they renew their membership. And we're hoping that they respond, which I think they will. Now we're in the process of opening the pool, hopefully. And that is a big part of the reason why members join. And so we're on schedule to open on May 15th. So that will be good to have members renew their memberships. But we extended for 1 month and keeping our fingers crossed.
Oh, absolutely. MJ?
We have not discounted or prorated in any way our dues. We have decided not to go forward with a dues increase that was scheduled for this year. So that may not be appreciated as much on the member side, but it's definitely going to be felt inside.
Okay.
Same situation, yeah.
Let's turn to the courts themselves. Rob, are you maintaining the courts, or are you monitoring courts, that kind of thing? Obviously, I guess that you have a lot of hard courts. I don't know if you have soft courts that you're teaching on, but are there any maintenance things that you're working on during this time, or do you do that?
I don't really have to, although a lot of the different subdivision board members that do play tennis and know me, we've looked at the courts and so forth, and the ones that are still open, it's basically a personal choice if somebody wants to come out there. So it's not like they need permission from the subdivision board, but other than the hand sanitizers, that's the only thing I've seen.
Okay. Paul, how are you going about maintaining your courts? Are your courts, keeping in the right condition?
Well, we, between Les and I, we go, 2, 3 times, 4 times a week, make sure the windscreens are up and everything, even though the club is closed, people can go in. So we go and make sure that everything is where it needs to be and taking care of maybe weeds and anything that needs to be done. But we look at regularly, and fortunately, there's not much maintenance to do at the moment.
Are you making any improvements? I've heard instances where, painting or other projects that have been put on the back burner are really coming into focus during this downtime. Are you doing any kind of newer projects or no, just kind of maintaining things?
Well, before like mid-March, we started a big project with the pool bathrooms, and unfortunately are halfway done, and nothing is happening, and nothing will happen until we go back when we open. So unfortunately, that's it. But on the tennis side, nothing. And we had some projects coming up, but who knows what's going to happen with that.
Okay. MJ, what about you with facility improvements or maintenance?
The club has taken on a lot of maintenance projects that were scheduled for later in the year, but they don't pertain specifically to the tennis. So really the things that we're doing right now are the same things that they would have done on schedule for us anyway, repairing decks as needed, painting furniture. It has not been a time for more simply because it hasn't come up.
Okay. And Beth, what about you?
Yeah, we actually, the first couple of weeks when we were totally shut down, either myself or Roland would come in and do our clay courts just because we have sub-irrigated courts, and with all the rain, we make sure our algae doesn't get out of control in the courts. And once we've opened back up, I have a maintenance person or ourselves that are doing the courts really every day to maintain it. Plus, we, with our limited staff, and we're using a couple of fitness people are helping us. We usually have a shutdown in July for a week that we do a lot of maintenance things to repair, paint, organize, whatever it is we do during that time. And we're actually trying to do that now because obviously we're not going to shut down in July now due to this.
Well, that raises a question. So, you know, a lot of times people take vacation in July. There are some camps that wind down. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think people will, I mean, this is obviously a projection, but I mean, what do you think as far as people wanting to get out there and play? In other words, having more participation this July than you normally would because people want to stick around? Or do you think July just is naturally a month where you're not going to get as much play because people are doing other things?
Well, my experience is, you know, having gone through different, you know, down periods in the economy, is usually when the economy is really good, we don't see a lot of people in July because they're traveling a lot. But when the economy is bad, they do a lot of staycations. I don't think anybody will be traveling this summer because of the way the economy is, and also because of the airline issues and the safety issues that are in play. I think we potentially could be much busier this summer for golf and tennis.
Yeah, Rob, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that sounds accurate?
I think based on the Atlanta situation, I'm not sure if I should say much, but I know Alta is really wanting to have the mixed double season. I know they're discussing ways that they can have a season, even if they have to push it back to where we end up in August, because everybody wants to play. So, yeah, everybody seems to get their last vacations in because we always start school early August here in Atlanta. So if people aren't traveling, I think that's a better thing for us in June and July for sure.
Yeah, it seems that way. Paul, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think that we're going to have a busy summer, less people out of town, more people at the club, more people playing tennis. So hopefully the weather will cooperate and will be a great summer for all of us.
Yeah, and MJ, what do you think?
I think Beth nailed it. I think what everybody has said, we're gonna have a good summer if conditions permit it.
Okay. Obviously, with all of this, that, you know, most everybody has taken a financial hit. I mean, what are the thoughts from your own perspectives and I guess that of your club to kind of catch up financially? Beth, it sounds like that your club, you planned out different contingencies, right? So, I mean, what are the thoughts of trying to get caught back up financially?
I think our first focus, more than say financially, I mean, that will be great. But I think first and foremost is to make sure we keep our members engaged to the club. Obviously, the last thing you want is resignations. And we want to make sure we're getting the usage and the connection to the club. And we just want to make sure it is a positive experience and they're using it. Get back to full open, we have them using it, because obviously clubs have been killed by lack of golf outings and also banquet businesses, you know, to zero. So, you know, we'll try to help make up whatever we can financially. But again, we don't even know what our limitations are. We get a lot from our shop sales, and obviously a lot from lessons, but we don't even know what the access to the shop will be. We're about to launch our online shop, so that may help. But I think when you're really talking about full-blown financial, I think the number one focus is making sure you're keeping the members happy and they have a good experience so they stay connected to the club right now.
So, How would you, I mean, it sounds like that you run a top notch, you know, you won awards and everything for the job that you do. So, I mean, what does that look like? You're already doing a lot to service your members. I mean, would you offer more, say, free opportunities to play, or what sorts of things would you do different than you already have done in the past to give them, you know, that experience so that you re-engage them?
I think we all do it, you know, offering many programs, whatever it is. I think, again, we're in our past, you know, honestly, I know Matt and Bill and I always talk to Lisa and Jeff. We kind of have our sister clubs that we talk to a lot about different things. And we are, without a doubt, perhaps the most financially driven and report generation club in the world. But, you know, that in the end, member satisfaction and experience is the number one thing. So that might be a little bit on the back burner just to make sure you're getting them out here and you have them playing versus making sure you have all your events filled. And, you know, because obviously our big events are going to be on hold too. Our member guests, our pro-ams. Have somebody's puppy dog? Pro-ams, things like that are going to be on hold because we just don't know the status of group events, and then how many people you can have in the shop and things like that. So it's really about making different programs, like I say, making different challenges, whether singles challenges come out in this day, try to out rally each other, family to family, whatever it is, to get them out here using the club versus trying to key in as much as I think we used to financially for the club. I'm not saying that's going away. However, I think we have a little bit different focus at this time.
Yeah, that makes sense, to kind of to re-engage them.
Right.
Rob, I know that you're treating this as you've had an extended rainy season, or rain dates. So in coming back, I mean, financially, are there thoughts of, I guess, with the teams, maybe Alta teams starting back, that you'd be able to try to catch up financially? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, it's being able to put in your mind that we might have to grind, like we're in a tough third set battle with MJ from the baseline, that he knew I'd throw that college thing in there. No, I look at, you know, I don't teach Sunday mornings because me and my family, we go to church, but I'll teach 1 till 6 on Sundays if I have to. I've been, you know, starting earlier in the morning, and a lot of businessmen like to get out on the court, believe it or not, at 6 a.m., which I'm not a fan of because sometimes I'll leave the court at 10 o'clock at night. But if that's what we're going to have to do for a couple months, we're in a great business where it's a happy business and we make people happy. So if we have to grind for a couple months, you know, that's my mindset, you know, going in the next couple months.
Yeah, that makes sense. Paul, what about you?
I agree with Rob and Beth, and it's time to rest, get in shape, and when they open the doors, get ready. And same thing, I don't teach on Saturdays, but I have been teaching Saturdays because of the rain, and now I'll be teaching Saturdays and every day, and try to come up with some good programs, early morning boot camps and lunchtime programs. And I might have to forfeit my naps, which, if you know me, you know that they are sacred, but we'll give it up and work to recoup all. But I think that with that thought in mind is try to enjoy as much as we can this time at home, try to get, you know, in shape, learn, and get ready. That's it.
Okay. MJ, what about you trying to catch up financially?
Yeah, I don't look at it as catching up financially. I don't know that we'll be able to track that. I do think, though, that we can position our pros and our programs to be in front, to be leaders as we come out of this. You know, I think a side note, at least for our area, that without USTA play and without Alta play, you know, obviously that many of us, our economy is built around that. But the flip side is that we have a chance to demonstrate how professional we are and how creative we are. So instead of members that are choosing to play elsewhere because they're involved in these other leagues, we now have an opportunity to reestablish some momentum that we may have ceded to these other things. So we have a positive spin in front of us as we get out there to do it. So I think that we can all potentially be in a much better spot at the end of this year in terms of esteem and value and dollars from our members than we are right now.
Great point.
Yeah, if you're flexible, maybe. I mean, I know with my teenage daughters, if you offered a midnight clinic, they might actually sign up for that, or I would sign them up because they tend to stay up late now. So, all right, well, let's open it up to some questions. Let's see if anybody in attendance has any questions for our great panelists.
We had something
Pat,
interesting from Lewis, that he was saying that he felt the panel was very positive and that he was a little concerned about the chance of the repercussions of it coming back again. You know, is that a possibility? But I see some other people that have also said that they felt it was a case by case and area by area. But that was an interesting comment about the possibility of this coming back on us again.
Well, my answer is I want to hope and I want to plan and I want to be ready May 1st, June 1st. But before I go in back to teach, I'll make sure that everything the conditions are ideal for going back. I'm not going to rush it, but I want to give myself a day to be ready instead of just waiting and hoping, and just let's be ready and then go. So that's.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't think anybody's going to put themselves, their staff, or members in jeopardy. So safety precautions, like I say, are going to have to go forward for some time. There are different regions of the country that are experiencing a higher rate of infection than others. So I think all those things have to be taken into consideration. And definitely, if someone does not feel comfortable with going out or doing anything, you shouldn't do it.
Hey, I've heard two different kind of phase back plans that everybody's kind of talking about. And from all of our conversations with like Beth and Lisa and all the Atlanta clubs in town, we've been talking about every other day, it seems like. There's kind of two different guiding philosophies. And one is when we do start back, it would be a private lesson model only at first, because that's the most controllable way to get people back playing, where you could set them aside and space out the lessons and have rules, but when they arrive and they would never touch a ball, they would just hit balls, pros pick them all up. And then the other side of that is it easier, or is it safer, better to start in that phase one or the reopening phase with just family play? My concern with family play is if two families show up to play on two different courts, but they're friends, keeping those kids apart, keeping everybody really from hanging out and socializing at your club would be a tougher thing than when we do the private lessons. Like, is there any feel for which way, once things get back, people are kind of leaning to start getting people out and doing things at their club besides just opening the doors and letting everybody back?
I think the family play this way we've started, and again, I think you might have to alternate courts or something, but I think the lessons, it's been very safe. It would be very safe in that respect, but you may have to alternate your courts if you have a situation. Obviously, the private lessons wouldn't be an issue, but I think the consideration of families is not as difficult as you think if you just coordinate it with the timing and the courts.
Okay. I have a question. Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question for the panel. What kind of things are y'all reading or doing new right now to learn as we're in this suspended phase?
I can tell you what we're doing. We literally have a senior management call every single day with CDC, World Health Organization, governors, every single update there is out there every single day to go over what's going on. And also, we have 2 people dedicated to keeping up with the guidelines of different organizations, and then they give the staff all that information too.
Okay. Rob, you had mentioned a book. Rob, you had mentioned a book that you had read that was really good. What was the name of that?
It was called "It Takes What It Takes."
Okay.
We've got a question from Jonathan asking what kinds of contact tracking systems people may have in place. How often are the clubs disinfecting, and what systems are being put in place for your more vulnerable members?
Well, we are not doing much at the moment. The club is closed, and then when we are ready to go back, then the club, the members will do what they need to do. To be honest, I'm not sure, but we're a small club, and unfortunately right now is sitting there and waiting. So I can't help with that.
I can tell you, we have a person at the curbside who first, and of course we've had all kinds of messaging. If your family is sick, you're not to come to the club. Then right now, I failed to mention, but it's family play that live in the same household. So if you have a family member who lives outside the household, you actually cannot come play with them. And then when you check in, the person, the greeter, we call them the curbside greeter, will talk to you for a few minutes, and they're checking you out. You got to be on our list. There's no guests. They're going to check to make sure you're the same family household. They're also going to basically kind of check you, make sure you're not coughing, you don't seem sick, those kind of things. And then you come up to what we call the courtside marker. That person's going to check you off the list. Again, talk to you again and tell you what courts. We have a couple different people that are wiping down, and we've also roped off almost the entire area. We've taped off all stair handles, all chairs and tables are gone. We do have one set of bathrooms open that I have a dedicated person that after every person goes in and out, they go and wipe everything. Excuse me for the phone. They go and wipe everything down after that. So we're taking every precaution we can to make sure all touch areas are being addressed.
Beth?
Yes.
So I'm wondering, with all these precautions, has there been any talk at your club as far as adding language in your liability waivers that actually includes COVID-19? I mean, you're already taking so many precautions, but somebody may very well become ill. We don't know what the kind of liability is going to be for that. Any thoughts of adjusting language in your waivers?
Right. Good question. I don't know. I'll have to ask that specifically. I do know that the board and our COO, before any communication goes out, what's going on and to the staff, et cetera, it's going through our attorneys. So everything goes through the attorneys. It goes through the health person advisor that we've got on. And so they look at every single piece of that information before it's sent out to everybody. But and then if they do hear of someone that has come down with being sick or someone in the family household, they will contact every single person and have them stay away. They'll quarantine that group of people and they'll notify people. So they have kind of if you will, a process in place if anything happens, and then if anything happens at someone else's workplace for a member, they who tell us so that we know, these people shouldn't be coming here and those kind of things. And so far, everybody's been pretty good about that. Like I say, no one's looking to get sick and nobody wants to make anybody else sick.
Right, and that's, it sounds like you're doing all the right things and you're running it through your legal counsel, which I know can, be time consuming. But, it just seems like it's a smart thing to at least consider as far as those waivers. It's similar to me. Like if you were crazy and you put 50 kids on a court, before all of this, and some child got hurt because you just had way more kids than is normally accepted to be on one court, there could be a liability issue there. And it's almost like with corona, the virus, that it's something similar. So anyway, it just seems like that's something to consider down the road for waivers. There might be some liability issues, even if you're taking precautions. But are there any other questions?
Has anybody considered use of thermal scanners to scan people for temperatures when they arrive at the facility?
We've
Yeah, our
talked about
facility's
it.
going
I'm
to start
sorry.
doing that.
Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
I was going to say our facility just ordered like 12 thermal scan thermometers, and they're putting them in all the places that. So we've got them all so that as we start to slow roll open, that's the first check. Like at every stop that you come into the club, you have to get like your forehead basically scanned, and it's the roll. They just run them across your forehead. It tells your temperature. So they ordered like 10 or 12 of those so they can have them in every department, because that's going to be a stop that they do at several different points every time you're coming in and out of the club.
Wow. Very careful. All right. Well, thank you very much, Beth, Rob, Paul, and MJ. You all were terrific, and it's fantastic information. I'm glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thanks for everybody else.
Thanks, everybody.
Good to
Thank
see
you very
everybody.
much. Stay
safe.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.